Seventh race weekend of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup, and the sun is setting in the Tyrol Mountains of Austria. We are just outside the double Olympic city of Innsbruck at the sliding centre at Eagles. Hello everybody, welcome back to our coverage of the men's skeleton competition, heading into our second and deciding heats, the penultimate race weekend of the full season. Martin Haven and Liz Meyer watching the action with you. And although no family representatives in the top of the pile, we have still got a good race on our hands.
Definitely. It's a super exciting race. Wenhout is sitting in third place, and he is only 100th away from that second spot, that silver medal position. He laid down a great run. He had a fantastic start, a fifth-ranked start, third-ranked run. Really pleased with what we saw from this athlete. In second, it's Singi Jung. He is from Korea, and he had a phenomenal start like we're used to seeing from him, and a great downtime. It's just showing the strength that this Korean program has and continues to have after that 2018 Olympics, and just continues to grow. It was a good run by Singi, but Matt Weston is leading the pack. We have seen him lead the pack all sorts of times this season. He is a strong starter, the second-ranked start, and he flew down this track, obliterated the track record, and laid down the fastest run of the heat. Now, it wasn't perfect, it wasn't the prettiest, and it wasn't the cleanest, so he definitely has room to clean up, and maybe, just maybe, he'll sneak in another track record.
It could well be. We saw the track record obliterated by our eventual winner, Kimberly Boss, in the women's race. She did that in the second heat, coming from a tie for 11th place, 3/10 out of the medals. Well, 3/10 out of gold here is Kim Ji-soo in 4th place, just 100th ahead of Ying Qing. So China, Korea in the lead group, and the top 10 are all either British, German, Chinese or Korean. So the other Europeans and other nations all battling for position further back. So it could be a very entertaining lead group. There's Axel Jung, Olympic silver medalist. He's out of the top half dozen at the moment. Our air temperature is dropping. It's down 2 degrees. Ice temperature will follow fairly quickly. There's just the last gleamings of the afternoon sunshine on the mountains on the other side of the valley to us.
Mattia Gasperi looking over at Power there.
Florian Hour. Always good entertainment with these boys. It's a very small family, isn't it? You know, you're a team of one predominantly. Even if you're in a big national team, the most sliders you're going to have is like 5 or 6. So everybody tends to travel with and room with and buddy up with people from different nations. I mean, it's a very intimate little community, especially in skeleton.
Definitely. And although you're fighting each other on the track, if you're from a different nation, you're not fighting for resources. So it's a little bit more of an open friendship. You're just having fun with each other. There's not that internal battle that we sometimes see. So definitely, you're going to see friendships form, all sorts of, yeah,
all sorts of different nations. You just get on with who you get on with. Race 7 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. Peter McCready's of Australia gets us back underway. 20th after the first heat, his second ever World Cup, his first ever race here. And this is a training warm-up for next week's Intercontinental Cup race that he's going to do in Innsbruck.
Definitely. So he's just here to get a little bit of extra experience. You get 6 runs in training, and then these 2 race runs as well.
And in fact, because the Worlds in St. Moritz were 2 weeks ago, he was here last week as well, paying for training. But it's 36 euros a run, or 25 euros as the entry fee for the World Cup race. So he's doing this and that, and then ICC. Then he's out of money, back home to Australia.
Definitely, it's a great opportunity to get some run volume in, but also, like you mentioned, it's only his second World Cup ever, so it's good experience to get under the lights, get under the cameras, get his headshots done, all sorts of fun extra stuff that comes along with the World Cup circuit.
And also, of course, 2.5, 3 weeks sliding on one track allows you to rehearse and practice and fine up what you're doing in the same place without having to bug out and go to a different track and learn all that. And that's something you never get in the season. You never spend 3 weeks at a track in the season, never spend more than 1 week unless it's the World Championship. So this is really valuable learning for him. I know he's being facetious about it's just practice for ICC, but all of that knowledge from the same place in 3 weeks goes in, and that is worth more than its weight in gold.
Definitely, and it's a much faster, much more ice buildup on this track, so it's not really the normal Eagles track we're used to seeing. So that extra experience should really benefit him when it comes to ICC next week.
Well, he sort of jumped in and out of ICC, the second tier of sliding in World Cup all season long. Blake Ensley has done ICC before, but this year, his first full season on the World Cup for Canada. 21 years of age. This is his first World Cup race here, although he did race in the ICC. Stands for Intercontinental Cup. It's the second tier of sliding, and in fact, next week will be the last ever ICC race, because it is now going, and we will just have Europe Cup, America's Cup, and World Cup on top of the pile.
Definitely, so we're going to see a lot more athletes next year. Blake's from Calgary, Alberta. He's got the prairies represented on his helmet, as well as some special dates according to do with his family as well.
Best exit velocity off the faster start than we saw from Peter McCready's. And Blake, one of the big, heavy athletes in the field, reminds me quite a lot of Dave Kreshcheshin, your former teammate.
Definitely. He's one of the younger athletes on tour, so expect to see him for a lot of seasons. He's a very talented pilot. Got new equipment last year, so he's just starting to jive with it a little bit more with that top 6 finish at Whistler at the start of the season.
Yeah, that's if bobsleigh don't snaffle him away.
Yeah.
He's on the fringes of being a very sizable bobsleigh athlete as well. 121.5, good speed, 75.5 miles an hour. Ooh. Like a bullet into the wall. There's Peter McCready. He leaves the leader's box. Chatted to him after the first run. He was saying, how come you said in Park City I came from Greek Cypriot roots? I'm sure he must have told me, or somebody has anyway, but he does. 52.65, second run. I'm getting distracted from Blake Ensley. So just a fraction slower and quite a lot more uncomfortable dismount.
Definitely. Here he is coming out of corner 9 into this little bit of an uphill section, and then it goes down again. Runners aren't quite straight, and the runners is what touches the ice. It's important for us to try to stay out from skidding, but of course it's going to happen. Extra pressures from the corners, and then he takes a big bump here on the slider's left before the finish line, and then into the finish straight.
Yeah, Al is right. Look, he's getting on for 95 kilos to closer to 100, bouncing him off the sled. Isn't the work of a moment.
No.
Next up, Vladislav Heriskevich of Ukraine, 18th place after the first of our 2 heats. And a little bit in no man's land. 500s ahead of Blake Ensley, and about 1300s behind Yang Wengang of China, who will follow him up. But lots of noise at the top for Vlad. 3 or 4 spots away from his best result on this track, which is a 14th place finish.
5:17 getaway, 100th quicker than that first heat.
And again, straight into that sort of aerodynamic form to try to keep the legs close together behind you.
Definitely, you want the shoulders glued to the sled, the feet together at the back, and your hands tucked nicely under your legs to keep that aerodynamic position.
And if you're thinking he looks more like a power lifter than a slider, you're absolutely right. That's where he came from.
Definitely not the strongest on the start, but he can drive a sled very well, and we're used to seeing him get some really huge speed. 104.5 kilometers is real quick.
And super quiet there. No toes, no helmet. Good, correct run down through the lower labyrinth. Big speed from Vladislav Heriskevich. Good bottom half of the track, which he did not have in the first heat. 52.26. That's a quarter second better almost than his first run. That's a big improvement.
Definitely a much better run by Vlad.
And below the Kreisel, it was so much tidier.
Yeah, and great speed. Just shows that he can really drive the heck out of the sled. As he loads onto it, he is a big guy. You're going to see the sled bouncing around a little bit. Shoulders are actually sitting outside of those bumpers.
Yeah.
So we have bumpers. They're the metal bits of the sled that ideally are going to take the hits on the wall. But we can see him coming down here. His shoulders are outside of those bunks. So when he hits a wall, it's definitely his shoulders hitting him.
You see, that's the reason you don't see fish with a wide front end, because that frontal area is really important in any fluid dynamics, and air is a fluid. Yan Wengang of China is next up, and Yan, the Olympic bronze medalist a year ago. Everybody's starting to post. Yesterday I noticed their opening ceremony pictures from Beijing 2020. Seems like a lifetime yet again since the Games, and yet it is only 12 short months. So Yan Wengang of China, he's our Olympic bronze medalist. 4th World Cup here, the progression 16th and 17th, and then 8th, and then 17th again in the first heats. Let's see if he's got a little more this time out.
He looks a little bit wobbly there on the start. He's a 10th slower than we saw in that first heat. Maybe he's struggling with a little bit of an injury, because that's not where we're used to seeing him.
There is also a lot of coffee, coldy, fluey, sicknessy stuff going around as well. I mean, everybody's had it for weeks in and weeks out. Drops 100th behind Vladislav Heraskevich. And unless he, too, finds a quarter of a second, he and the next few athletes are all going to drop behind Vlad, actually.
Big toe steer there as he exits the Kreisel, puts himself in a little bit of a skid. So when an athlete takes themselves off a corner too soon, there's extra pressure built up, and that's where we're going to see the sled start skidding. Like
everything, if you think of driving a car, too soon off a corner or too late has the same effect.
Yep.
Second best speed, he's not going to catch him. Is he going to be second? Yes, he is at the line. 1100's back, so Vladislav stays in the leader's box. Not the most convincing day in Innsbruck for Yan Wengang of China.
No, definitely not. Lots of room for improvement. They've got a lot of newness in this Chinese program, new coaching, new equipment, all of this. So it's a bit of a rebuild period for these guys.
Dusting himself down after that unhappy landing.
Coming off of Kreisel, we're going to see him into a skid, and then off of 9 here. That's a little bit uphill, so the athletes get a weightless feeling as they head over this brow. Heads nice and low, good aero position, and a slow drift to the slider's left as he enters into 10, which can make this 10 to 11 transition a little bit abrupt as he enters into 11.
So there is Yan. His day of days was 12 months ago. A little bit after that, but let's move on now to Mattia Gaspari. And as ever, don't let his humorous facade create the impression that he might not really be that bothered. He is extremely bothered about this, but after a 3-year break in his sliding career, still rebuilding that speed, that knowledge, and that ability to post top 6 finishes.
Definitely. He's one of the more experienced sliders on this circuit, but like you mentioned, he had a bit of a hiatus when he was just struggling with injuries. But 2 weeks ago at the World Championships, the Italian men had a phenomenal showing. Mattia really showing his driving ability and that he's back on his game.
Yeah. And in the team's competition, they were very competitive, well, where you had one male, one female slider together. Second best speed, slender lead, coming down a fraction. Third of a second in it.
Very nice looking run here.
Second best speed. I think he's going to hang on. He could even. Ooh, if he gets the labyrinth right.
Okay, he drove it well.
Starts to stretch away. Not too bad at all for Mattia Gaspari. Big hit on the wall, takes a 10th out of it, but it's still a better run than his first, and he has the lead over Vladislav Heraskevich.
And he's the fastest run of the heat so far. Much better run. Yeah, a little bow. Well done, Mattia.
And that run in the first heat would have left him 4 places further up the order.
Yeah, and now that it's getting a bit colder out, I'm not actually sure if the track's maintaining as much, but these guys are having a bit better second run. Definitely Mattia, much tidier. It's a tricky balance and skeleton where you're trying to do just enough and not too little. And sometimes either of those reasons will make you go slow. Nice low chin position. Chin is nearly touching the ice. I like that aerodynamic form as he heads into corner 10.
Tiny mistakes, but well, see you in Sigulda.
Let's see you in Sigulda.
See you in Sigulda. That's the season finale coming up in a week's time. Mattia Gaspari leads, 5 down, 15 to go in Innsbruck. Martin Haven, Liz Meyer watching the action. The 7th penultimate race in the Men's Skeleton World Cup here in Innsbruck in Austria. And we get into our 2 American athletes. Andrew Blaser is first up, 15th after the first heat. And he's chasing his teammate, Austin Florian, who comes next, who is just 700s quicker on their two respective first runs.
5:08 on the first run, 5:04 on the second heat. That's a great improvement on the start.
Best on this track, an 18th place finish, so he's already inside that, in 15th place after the first heat, but being ahead of his teammate would be better.
Yes, of course, but when we're talking about starts, if he's a 10th better on the start, it's usually 3/10 faster at the bottom of the track, so that start differential is super important.
Might have been if he hadn't hit everything in sight on the way to the prize. A little dink on the exit, still a 10th up on Mattia Gaspari.
Gotta stick it here. That's a pretty nice line into corner 10, but doesn't have the speed like Mattia.
Speed is not as good, and a hit. He only had 700s from the first heat. He's not going to hang on. Mattia Gaspari is going to pick off Andrew Blaser by 700s.
Because this is such a short track, we're going to see lots of movement. These are close races. It's exciting racing. Only 700s now behind Mattia Gaspari. And we could still see some more movement happening.
Well, last week, the runs were 50% longer or 2 weeks ago in San Moritz, a much longer track. And yet the gaps are absolutely tiny there as well, so...
Definitely. Luge goes to the 1,000th of a second, and Skeleton only goes to the 100th.
We like hundreds.
Exactly.
We like ties.
We do like ties. It's exciting. Racing is great. This is a little bit of a messy run here by Blaser. Bit of a tap out of 10 into 11. Oopsies.
There we go.
Thanks for watching. Hi, Mom.
Aw.
He's still all right,
Yeah.
as far as sliders go. Lonnie Bissonette, one of our Parasport sliders last week, has safe-ish on his helmet, and that's about as close as you get here. Better than ski jumping, I guess, but there we go. Okay, so our 7th starter in the first heat is Austin Florian of the USA in his 34th World Cup start, and a best here of 14th as well, which is where he was after the first heat, so he'll want to improve on that for a PB.
492 on the start, just losing 400s there. He's one of the quicker starters in the field. He's the fastest starter when we were in Altenburg, Germany, so maybe the longer starts are just a little bit better for him.
Yeah. Some athletes will have more speed immediately out of the block, so a shorter start works. Some will just have longer stride and build up that cadence, and yeah, maybe that's the way for him.
Definitely, and he's one of the taller, longer athletes, so potentially that is for him. Losing a little bit of time here on Mattia Gaspari, but this is not a bad-looking run for him.
Some good exits, steering hard down there into 10. And you see the elbow coming out, and that's a lot of work going on.
Yeah, a little bit wild there in the bottom labyrinth.
Right it, baby. And across the line, sideways, 52.13. Mattia is out of the leader's box, and Austin Florian is in. So Austin Florian leads from Mattia Gaspari and Andrew Blaser.
Definitely a better run for him.
That was a little better.
Yeah, I agree. Coming off into 9 into this little uphill weightless section, you can see his shoulders lifting a little bit and that elbow poking out. So if your hand isn't fully set on your handle underneath, your elbow can come out, which is a little bit of an awkward position for the athletes. In this bottom labyrinth, it seems a little tricky this year. Lots of flopping, lots of flying. Could be just because the track is ripping.
Yeah.
Hi, Mom, Dad, Eric, and Erica. Happy to be leaving Eagles.
Nothing wrong with Eagles or Innsbruck. It's just the track can be tricky. Easy to get down, hard to get down fast. Thank you, John Morgan, for one of the great phrases that everybody now uses. Florian Auer next up, another sliding family here. Alex Auer, you'll see doing some coaching. He too slid World Cup, and his father, Christian, their father, Christian, was one of the standout sliders in the 90s, in the early days of skeleton. Lots of noise at the top of the track. 5:09 first start, 5:08 second.
Not the quickest on the starter here, but he's going to be one of the most experienced athletes on this track.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's come down this track at a younger age. His dad took him down when he was 2 or 3 years old on a skeleton sled from the top.
Other than his nephew who took a run last year, 2 years old. But definitely this is a sliding family. They've been around on tour for so many years with Christian and then the 2 sons as well.
Michaela Glazer posting pictures today of her young son, who looks about 3 or 4, on her skeleton sled with perfect form. So, yeah, it is a family business, or you know somebody who knows somebody. That's the only way to get into this.
Definitely. A little bit messy here for Flo.
Yeah, never quite found that pace down at the bottom. 52.33, so 2/10 slower on that run alone than Austin Florian, and he only had 300ths in hand. So drops back by 1/4 of a second.
And that's Eagles for you, because it is such a short track. This movement, this changing in positions is what we're used to seeing. You can see him loading onto the sled here. Gonna tuck those hands in, nice aerodynamic form. Get those elbows tucked in as well. And then into 9, or out of 9 and into 10 here. You can see him looking down a little bit. As skelly athletes, we steer with our head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Head being least effective, toes being most.
So Florian drops into second place. Austin Florian, yeah, I know, is the leader. Could fool a simple man, has only fooled me dozens of times. Amadeo Banyas now. Well, 2 weeks ago in St. Moritz in the World Championships, and I mean, the shock of the men's worlds, even more than the failure of the German team to provide anything, was Amadeo Banyas never looked like he was surprised or going to give away silver medal after the first heat. I mean, just an astonishing 2 days of performance from this young man.
Definitely, it was very impressive to watch.
And if he can do that in St. Moritz in the World Championships and hang on to that in 3 years' time, if he's anywhere near the front in Cortina, he's got that mileage to look back on and just, yeah, okay, I've done it before, I'll do it again.
Definitely, and those 4 heat races are so important to us because there's not too many times we get the opportunity to practice. There will only be 3 more opportunities before, or 2 more opportunities, sorry, before the Olympic Games.
Long skids down into the Kreisel. And again, we've seen this a few times, long skids coming off a lot of the corners, carrying so much more speed than they're used to here.
Definitely, and there's so much more ice buildup here.
So sideways.
He's really got to hold on here.
Flying into the lead by 1400ths over Austin Florian. Again, if you looked at that without the clocks, you'd be going, look, he's skidding so much, it's going to be hopeless. But in fact, he's just got the thing trimmed out for speed. Okay, I'm not steering, I'm just pushing.
Definitely, and it's figuring out that balance. How do I glide? How do I have the least contact patch with the runners on the ice that you still have enough control, but you're not cutting too much ice? Bit of a tap there, 2 to 3. Struggled a bit on this top part of the track.
Skidding all the way down here. He's definitely not parallel with the wall.
No, and those
and yet,
maybe they polished the runner sideways. Sorry, Amadeo.
You don't normally drive looking out the side window, but he flew.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what he was doing in St. Moritz. Just absolutely nailed on. Well, there is Alex Auer on the left-hand side, coaching not Florian, but Sammy Meyer. This is younger brother-in-law. He's younger than Raf, right? No, Raf's the youngest.
No, he's the baby of the family. He is
so Raf's the middle.
Yeah.
So Father Manny drove bobsleigh and was coaching bobsleigh for Austria. And then Benny drove bobsleigh, and Sammy and Raf have slid skeleton. Their sister and their mum have not slid.
Definitely.
Letting aside.
Yeah, sorry. Totally just watching and like trying not to be too biased. 5:07, a smidgen better here on the start. Gonna make 100th out of there.
Well, listen, he's 100th away from a top 10 run here in Innsbruck. If that's not inspirational enough, there's all that racket at the top as well. Exactly what you need.
Definitely, he's got the whole family out here. His goddaughter, everyone's out here cheering him on.
First World Cup of the season. Best speed into the Kreisel. 1500's back. That should come back to him.
Definitely. He needs to be perfect because he is lacking on that start.
Here we go. Great exit from 9 down to 10. Second best speed. Closing in on the lead. It's going to be nip and tuck at the line. Fourth best speed. Vladislav Herishkevich was the fastest at the bottom. He's got the lead by 800s. 52.08. Amadeo Banyas in a very different frame of mind, or very different look than he was in St. Moritz 2 weeks ago in the Worlds. But hey, silver medal in the World Championship, whatever happens in the rest of your season, you don't mind. Now, is that enough for a top 10 for Sammy Meyer? I think it might be.
Definitely. Lovingly known as Uncle Foofy in our family. So it is.
Uncle Foofy, making a note of that.
Yeah, so it is great to see him really lay down this result. Best result of the season so far for him. And he is still one of the youngest athletes on tour as well. So he's going to have quite a bit more career ahead of him.
You may possibly be able to hear on the microphones a lot of banging. That's the Axel Jung fan club upstairs making a racket as we get ready for our final 10 sliders here in Innsbruck in Austria. Now, I promise we're genuinely not on a construction site. We are on the first floor of the finished building. In our commentary position, and next to us are a couple of other commentary boxes, and then often quite a lot of fans. So we've got a lot of orange shirts up there from the Axel Jung fan club. There's a great view of the view across the valley from where we are.
The Hungerburg or Nordkette.
Yeah.
Go, Sammy.
Hey.
Yeah. There's his girlfriend up there, his best friend, as well as brother. There's Rafi.
There's Raf with the drum. So that's what the racket was. So the Axel Jung, the Axel Jung fan club are being...
the whole family came out.
Granny and Grandma. Where was it? We were in the Edelweiss at dinner in Koenigsee 3 or 4 years. Probably in the Worlds, actually, in 2017. And we ended up on a table with Manny and his wife and the rest of the family, and had a thoroughly entertaining couple of hours chatting away about nothing much and everything.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that's always good. Always good to catch up with people. And yeah, the time spent at the track and the time spent away from the track is always invaluable when you...
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's the people in the sport that really make it. I mean, the sport itself is fun, but really the competitors, the athletes, it's really a great group of human beings.
Well, I read a thing in the summer online. Somebody just posted auto racing. Come for the cars, stay for the people.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what... Come for the adrenaline rush, yeah, but you stay for the people, because this sport in isolation is just, you know, a few
it's
seconds
an oddity.
a day.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You train for 2 minutes a day, but man, the people in it really make the difference. The volunteers, the people that love the sport, the people that are watching now back home. We appreciate it, and it is what makes this sport so special.
And it's the same for us in the TV crew, because they accept us and welcome us in so much and so freely. This isn't a job, this is just fun.
Yes.
We call it work so that we can bill somebody, but we're here for fun.
Definitely. I love calling a race.
Race 7, the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup in Innsbruck, Austria. Heading into the darkness, Felix Kaisinger in the top 10 by the skin of his teeth, 100th ahead of our current leader, Sammy Meyer. Let's see what this German rocket can do at the start. Only 5th fastest start. I was quite surprised. 488. 483, that's a little more like it.
That's a little bit more like Kaisi.
Fastest start was a 478, so still not quite there, but best speed so far.
And normally, Kaisi will have a little bit of a messy first run, but really lay it down in the second heat. And let's see if he does that right here. It's looking so far like it.
Still just kind of, he's in that little phase between the innocence of youth when he first arrived, the first couple of seasons maybe, where he got no real expectations or pressure, and now wanting to win medals. And that's, traversing that gap is the hardest thing in the sport.
When you forget how to do it, you're like, how did I do this? Okay, you got to break it all down and start from scratch again.
And somehow you've got to not let it bother you. And that's it. That's very tricky. Now, that was not a bad run at all. 51.71.
Go, Sammy, go. Yep.
All right, so Sammy does go from the leader's box, 51.71. And that was the second fastest run down the track today. That would have been good enough for second place in the first heat. Hello, Kimberly Boss.
Yeah, no kidding.
Who won from a joint 11th place position in the first heat in the women's race.
Let's see where he can take himself out of Kreisel here. Drops out quite aggressively. Does he stay off that left side? Well, he does as he enters into 8 there. This 8 to 9 transition can be very, very tricky. And because the ice is so built up, he did take that tap on the sliders right.
Two silver, 2 bronze medals in his career. Best result here in Innsbruck for Felix Kaisinger, a 4th place finish. Now, Marcus Wyatt, the early season points leader, winner in Whistler at the opening of the season. He 100th ahead of Felix Kaisinger. Really starting to dial himself in now to this new Team GB sled, built by the man you just saw ducking out a shot, Matthias Guggenberger. in cooperation with the Ducours family. Martis Ducours also helping with the coaching, and undoubtedly as a touchstone among the coaching staff to have the greatest slider ever. You just know you're in a good team.
486, another strong start by Marcus, 200 slower than that first heat. But like you mentioned, having Martins in there, not only can he coach, I think he's probably going to be doing some equipment testing for this team as well. Get some runs down on the sled, see what works, see what doesn't.
Absolutely. 486 start and second best at the moment, but losing ground to Kaisinger. Kaisinger with a run that was comfortably inside the old track record.
This is where Kaisi had problems. He tapped that 8 to 9 transition, and Wyatt was clear.
Fourth best speed, working a little.
Okay, is he going to bring it back? Is there enough track left?
Coming down to 700s. One corner remains, dives to the line, not enough. 51.77. Felix Kaisinger picks one off, stays in the leader's box. In fairness to Kimberly Boss, she was 3/10 quicker, 5/10 quicker than anybody had gone, 3/10 quicker than the previous fastest run. So he may not be at the top of the pile, but Kaisinger aiming further up. It'll be a long while till he gets a 4th place to match his personal best. Here, Marcus Wyatt slips back a fraction, though.
Yeah, just like small mistakes that Wyatt was making. Nothing super blaring, no huge problems. And especially on this track, it is, I mean, we're seeing the same skids, we're seeing the same taps. So it's who handles this best. And there's a very happy Felix Kaisinger.
Wyatt's run was, in fact, the 4th fastest in history down this track. So, empirically, not at all bad. He's in second place with 8 to go. In 8th place, because none of the Germans were in the top 5, is Axel Juncker, Olympic silver medalist. We're moving up the Olympic rankings now. And Axel again, tiny advantages at this spot. His best result, not a 4th like Kaisinger or Marcus Wyatt. He's had a bronze medal on this track before now. Is he going to be in the medals again today?
He's really got to lay it down to try and get into the medal position.
Well, finds another couple of hundreds at the start, and that might make a difference.
Just 2/10 away from the medal positions. When he's in the red here, it is due to that start difference from his teammates, Felix Kaisinger.
Had second best velocity to Kaisinger, who's quickest up to the Kreisel. Now he's faster than Kaisi, and Kaisinger was not the fastest down at the bottom.
No, he made a big mistake in this transition, which Axel does quite nicely.
Okay, and drifts nicely out of 9, down to 10. Best speed of all, he's going to take the lead. He's coming right back. Here we go. 124.3, 77.2 miles an hour. The first man to go quicker than Vladislav Heriskevich, 51.63. And that is the second fastest run in history down this track.
Schnell, very, very fast run again by Axel. Much cleaner than we saw, much tidier.
Schnell, that's the Canadian for fast, everybody.
Yeah, the Canadian, or maybe the German.
Canade-Austrian.
Yeah, exactly. No, that was a good-looking run by Axel.
Yeah.
See, maybe a smile under the mustache. Hey, there you go. Here he comes out of 9 into this uphill section. Nice low chin position, just a little bit peaked to the slider's left, and that toe coming out, but it doesn't drop.
Tiniest little skid, but it keeps him off the wall.
Yeah, it does.
And then he gets into 10 right on line. Nice stuff from Kaisinger and Junk and Wyatt. Finding speed. Is the track speeding up as the temperature drops? It may well be. Now, Craig Thompson, whopping 0.04 of a second in front of Axel Junk after the first heat. 100th out of the medals in the World Championships 10 days ago. How tough is that? 2 weeks ago now. But Craig Thompson, second race ever on this sled. So 5 trips in training in Samoritz, 4 in competition, plus the teams. So that's 10, plus 6 in training here, 16, 17, 18th run on this sled.
And normally it takes about 50 or so runs to really get a feel of the sled. One of the main reasons why he popped onto this sled was because it was Martin Ducours previously. So he knew it's a quick sled.
So it knows how to win on this track.
Exactly. So there would be no question, no doubt in his mind about questioning this sled at all.
Once the season started, of course, it's been full on, really hard for them to build new sleds. And so this was one that pre-existed. 1700s back, so his lead has gone away a little, and he's going to drop 2 or 3 spots here. Ooh, sketchy final run from Craig Thompson. But again, this is the start of learning how this sled works and how it reacts, and all of those instinctive steers that you want just don't work.
Drops behind Amadeo Bagnes, moving up. Amadeo, Sam, Marcus, Felix, and Axel. Just a bit of a messy run there.
Drops down to 6th with 6 sleds remaining.
Definitely not the run he would want to end on. There's no head scratching as to where the speed went in this run, unfortunately.
It was everywhere, I'm afraid,
It was the more hits than Elvis. It's just, well, that happens. We've all been there. We've all taken the runs like this. As he comes out of Kreisel, he takes quite a big tap, and he almost double taps. If he didn't, there was a lot of work he needed to do.
Yeah.
And then coming off of 10 here into that lower labyrinth, again, another big bump on the slider left.
2 years ago, he was in the silver medal position here. This year, not finding the love in that second run from his sled. We get into our top 6, and our final German slider is the points leader, currently Christopher Groothair, with 3 wins and 2 silver medals so far this season. He is also a 2-time world champion and our current Olympic champion. But he is 33 hundredths off the lead in 1 heat, which means effectively he's got to find 6 tenths to guarantee himself victory here.
A much better start by Groot here. He found 400 somewhere.
Still second best velocity, fastest start. 486 of Marcus Wyatt has the best velocity out the first corner, but he's building a slender advantage now over Axel Jung.
Big hello to Anja Huber-Selbach watching in Altenburg, Germany, cheering on her former teammate, Christopher Groot here.
1700s, he's not gaining. It's coming back a little, and a big skid.
104.5 though, that's great speed, although second ranked.
Got enough, but it's not as quick as Axel. Has he got enough? 1500s, it's coming down. He does have enough. It'll be single digits at the line, hits the wall.
51,
he found speed at the bottom. Okay, that's only 4 hundredths off the track record, and he was 33 hundredths off the track record in the first heat. So either everybody apart from Matt Weston has got a lot quicker, or the track is speeding up.
That was a much better run from him. He's a very talented pilot. I mean, he's a double-time world champion, Olympic champion as well. He is very talented. Here he goes, nice low chin possession. We're gonna see a little bit of bumping on that right side. Quickly corrects with his toe, his right toe, so prevents that extra movement on the sled to keep the sled going nice and straight and keep accelerating.
2900s, quicker than his first heat. That was a big effort.
Yeah.
You don't find that in Innsbruck. You just
No,
don't
normally not.
Which means that their first heats were a bit rubbish. Christopher Groothair leads from Axel Jung and Alexander and Felix Geisinger. That is our top 3, 5 to go. Top 5 sleds, 2 from China, 2 from Korea, and 1 from Great Britain. Are we going to have a European winner here, or will the Eastern Sliding Nations take victory? Ying Cheng, our push world champion, 5th place after the first heat. A really good run from him. And that's a 482, a big explosive start.
Definitely, he is a very strong starter. Now he's just got to carry it down as far down the track as he possibly can.
Well, if the ice is speeding up, he will get to corners at speeds that he has never experienced before. And don't forget, this is only his 8th World Cup. He's only raced here once, and that was 2 years ago. He did win in the ICC. That's a good exit.
Yeah, but he's losing a bit of time here. Just shows how good Christopher Groothair's run really was.
Again, a little skid and only the 5th best speed. He'll be in the red at the next car.
Yeah.
Not quite. Ooh.
Lucky he's on his runner still.
Yeah, sliding his way through, and a 10th back. 51.71 is still quicker than anybody except the leader in the first heat.
Definitely, and ties exactly what Kaisi did in the second heat as well. This is a quick quick heat for these athletes.
This is the quickest this track has ever been. So ice build-up or no, mild winter or no, the ice crew here have done a phenomenal job. And that was 1,500s quicker than he came down in the first heat. That's the progress you want to see from a young slider, chiseling away at the times with every run.
Definitely, and just trying to gain consistency, figuring this out. He's a strong starter. Now he just needs to learn to be driving super consistent as well. Not a slow run, but definitely a couple mistakes here that really added up by the time he hit the bottom of the track.
You can see the last gleamings of sunlight in the sky overhead. The lights are on at the track. We have 4 to go. Kim Ji-soo, fastest start in the first heat, a 4:78. We will just mention again that the start record is a 4:72, dates back to the World Championships here in 2016. That was set by Alexander Tretyakov, the Russian rocket, a 3-time winner on this track, including European Championship gold. So
these Korean athletes are so strong.
900s out of the medals, 2/10 from gold, 4:79, another huge start for Kim Ji-soo.
Definitely the fastest we've seen so far, only 100 slower than that first heat. But look, he only has the 3rd best velocity coming off of that start.
No World Cup medals. His previous best, a pair of 5th place finishes, including one here. 4th place then would be a personal best, but he's got to hang on to the lead over Christopher Grote, and it's going away.
He only has the 8th best speed. Now he's only 400ths ahead.
Okay, needs to be perfect here. Is not scrambling for control.
Really big height there into 10, and you can hear the sled skidding as he's heading into 11.
He's not trusting the process at all. 7th best speed. And he drops down to 3rd at the line, 51.73. Grotehair is 1 away from the medals. Don't forget, he's our World Cup points leader, Christopher Grotehair. And we have 1 more race left in the World Cup, and that is in Sigulda in Latvia next week. So he needs to hang on here if he can, ahead of Marcus Wyatt, who is 2nd in the standings. He's already done that, but Kim here just dropping behind Ying Cheng and Christopher Grotehair with a looser 2nd heat.
Yeah, definitely not quite the form, of course, he would like, but like you mentioned, he's not really been in this medal fighting contender before, so it's a new mental game for him.
Right, will be a top 6, not his best result here, though. That remains a 5th place finish. What about Chen Wen-hao? Well, there's his coach with his back to us, Dirk Matchens. Hard to tell what he's thinking a lot of the time. Got a very dry sense of humour. Not sure how that translates.
Doesn't smile often.
11th World Cup race, his 3rd on this track, and his best World Cup result, a 5th place in the first race in Altenburg before we went to the Worlds.
Like you mentioned, that new coaching staff coming in, a 4:88, ties that first heat push time.
Top 6 starts and growing with every run. 7th best speed.
Slowly getting a little bit more of a lead here. He's really got to be perfect to try and maintain this medal position, because Grotier laid down a heater. Wait.
Only the 5th best speed in the Kreisel. He was 1,500s up. It came down to 1000s. It's now down to 600ths of a second. That was pretty clean. Not a huge amount of speed. This could be very close indeed with Christopher Grotehair. 100th of a second in it. Grotehair was not the fastest. Who's going to be in front? Is it going to be a tie?
No!
It's not. Oh, Grotehair in 2nd place, and a first ever medal for Chen Wen-hao guaranteed. A first ever medal. He's held on in the medals. There's Patrick Singleton, the Canadian coach. Yes, it's been coming all season. You've had the feeling that he's going to make the big breakthrough.
Yeah. I know what that feels like to win your first medal, so congratulations, well done. He did 2 great runs. I don't know where he found this extra 100th, because it looked like he was losing it at this part of the track. But this is pretty clean here. Well,
Christopher had his right leg out there just to stop a little skid up against the wall, and Chen Wen-hao in the medals. All right, 2 to go. China, Germany, China is your 1, 2, 3. What about Zhong Seung-gui, 100th ahead of our current leader, Chen Wen-hao, after the first heat. Now, he's got more experience at the sharp end of the field. 3 medals in North America, a World Championship bronze 2 weeks ago in St. Moritz. His 25th World Cup race. He has had silver medals, but never a gold.
He's only 100th ahead right now of Chen Wen-hao of China.
Make that 600s as he starts 500s quicker than Chen, and 600s quicker than he started in the first heat as well. Best speed of all.
Definitely. He's got to push this as far down the track as he possibly can. 1600s in the green now.
Long skid there, though, and again, you can see, like we saw with Mattia Gaspari and a few others, not parallel with the track walls on the straights.
Definitely, and now only the 3rd best speed. He's got to really clean it up should he want to maintain this advantage.
But listen to how quiet he is.
Yeah.
All you get is as the sled goes by. Very little scratching at all. Only the 6th best speed.
Keeping that 1700s in the green. He should be in the green at the finish line.
He's going to be the leader. It's going to be at least another silver medal. 51.57, and that is 200s off the all-time track record set in the first heat by the only man remaining to come down, Matt Weston, our world champion. So Zhong Seung-gui will take at least another silver medal away from here. He leads from Chen Wen-hao and Christopher Groothaar. Whatever happens, we will not have an all-Asian slider podium, but will we have a Korean winner on this track, which we have never had before?
No, definitely not. And these days of sliding are really cool because the track is so fast that every single person probably got a personal best today.
Well, we have had 3 consecutive silver medals, 4 in 5 races from Sun Bin Young a few years back, but we have never had a Korean winner on this track. Will we have one today? Well, the last time Matt Weston slid here, he won, but he didn't win alone. He was in a 3-way tie with Christopher Groothaar and Gung Wen Chang of China. The first ever, and it will be a long time, I think, before we see a 3-way gold again. But he does know how to win a race, Matt Weston. It's becoming a bit of a habit, and that is always a good habit to have.
Definitely. 481, another strong start by Matt. We've talked a lot about this British program this year, getting top velocity as he heads into corner 3. This equipment, this new coaching setup is kind of like a little bit of magic, I would say, for this British team.
He started a fraction slower than Zhong Seung-gui, fraction faster rather, but had the same velocity, so the gap comes out a fraction to 2300ths.
Definitely a nice looking run. That really nice exit out of Kreisel. Nice transitions here.
We're just checking that this is not Martin's Ducours in a British speedsuit, aren't we? Because the style looks so similar.
Definitely. You can really see that the Martin's knowledge is wearing off on these athletes. They were good to start out with. Now they're phenomenal.
Track record to win it. Track record to win it. 51.41. The fastest man ever in Innsbruck is our gold medalist here for the 2nd year in a row. And this time the organisers don't have to rush to the cupboard for another couple of golds.
Yeah, definitely. Another track record to end the day. Woo! Yeah, I would cheer. Heck yeah.
Now, Christopher Groothaar in 4th.
Miss everyone back at home. Woo!
Christopher Groothaar back in 4th. Matt came in here 3rd in the standings. Marcus Wyatt 2nd in the standings, is down in 9th.
I'm glad this is the last time in this outrun.
Yeah, a new outrun is to be built next year, this year, to make it.
Well, there are all sorts of plans for a longer track as well, but that can't be happening in 12 months. So Matt Weston takes gold, Zhong Seung-gui a silver medal, and Chen Wen-hao his first medal with a bronze. But a shattering track record in the first heat, 51.55, and he takes just 1400ths off it to go 51.41. From the moment he loaded onto the sled, Usmar, that did not look in doubt.
No, definitely not. And his first run was messy, so he cleaned it up for this second heat, laid it all out there. It's a happy Matthias Guggenberger, and there was a happy Martin Stukers at the bottom of the track.
And there is a beautiful sky, the lights of Innsbruck glimmering in the valley below us. So a fabulous location for sliding. And Matt Weston takes gold. Chung Seung-gui, a 4th career silver. And Chen Wenhao, his first ever medal. He's the bronze medalist ahead of Christopher Grohe, Yin Cheng and Kim Ji-soo. Then Jung and Kaisinger ahead of Marcus Wyatt, which will certainly hold Marcus Wyatt's hopes of being the World Cup champion at the end of next weekend in Sigulda. And Sammy Meyer, top 10. That is a PB on this track. Amadeo Banias a bit disappointed, so is Craig Thompson and Austin Florian, I would guess. Florian battling with Mattia Gaspari and Andrew Blaza. Vladislav Heriskevich doesn't quite get to a PB here, ahead of Yang Wengang, Blake Enzi, and Peter Macready, who stays here this week to race ICC next. And we head off with our skeleton athletes to Sigulda in Latvia, the season finale. And you'll be able to see all of that action next Thursday. For now, though, what's that? That is a 76-point lead Christopher Grote here has. So he needs to give a lot away and Matt Weston win. But Weston is up to 2nd in the race for the Crystal Globe. Jung up to 3rd. Marcus Wyatt drops from 2nd to 4th with a disappointing 9th place run here. So there are a few other movers and shakers up and down the order. But Christopher Grote here just needs to have a pretty reasonable weekend in Sigulda to tie up the Crystal Globe. But it is not beyond the bounds of possibility that it could all go very pear-shaped there for either he or Matt Weston. I'm not sure if Axel Jung is close enough to be able to snatch it no matter what happens, but we will see in a week's time. Till then, from Liz Meyer, me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew, thank you again for joining us. One skeleton race weekend remains. They'll be racing next Friday in Sigulda. Tomorrow, Saturday, we have women's monobob and the first of a pair of 4-man races, women's bob and 4-man on Sunday. We'll see you then at the earlier start time of 10 local 0900 GMT, which does mean 0400 Eastern. Until then, from Innsbruck, auf Wiedersehen and goodbye.
Miss everyone back at home.